Welcome once again to our channel where we talk all matters that positively or negatively impact Gen Zs, ages 10 to 20. This series is useful not just to Gen Zs, but also to their parents. So to ensure that we cover both perspectives, this interview is going to be conducted by myself, Anu Yogeshwaran, and two inspirational and motivated Gen Zs themselves.
Hi, I'm Tanuja.
Hi, I'm Mayura.
Today, we are going to be talking about a topic that Gen Zs are actually curious about, whether they can possibly venture into a career in policing. So we are going to be interviewing two people, Aaron and Oscar, who are program coordinators for the Youth in Policing program in the Durham region here in Ontario, Canada. Youth in Policing is a paid employment and personal development opportunity for youths ages 15 to 18 in the Durham region. And as employees of the Durham Region Police Services, youth engage in hands-on learning experience about the police services with an emphasis on the importance of leadership, teamwork, and community. I will hand it over to Tanuja to talk about Aaron, our first guest.
Aaron Wood is one of the program coordinators for Durham Regional Police Services Youth in Policing, also known as YIP Initiative. Aaron started his journey with YIP as a student back in the summer of 2017 and has been involved in numerous volunteer and leadership positions over the years, becoming the coordinator in September of 2020.
Oscar Lee is currently a program coordinator for the Youth in Policing Initiative. He is a dedicated social advocate and a prominent mentor for youth. Oscar believes that the best way to make change is strongly impacting individual lives and creating a ripple effect.
Awesome. So without further ado, let's get into Youth in Policing. All right, awesome. Well, thank you, Aaron and Oscar, for joining us to talk about the Youth in Policing program. So, Aaron, starting off with you, can you just share a little bit about your backstory and what got you motivated to get into the Youth in Policing program?
Yeah, for sure. So I was always interested in policing growing up. It's something I always really wanted to do. I discovered the Youth in Policing program through the DRPS website. I was just kind of going through the website as one does on a regular day, and I was able to apply. I got in 2017 summer initiative. Oscar and I were both actually students together. So I joined because I was really interested in learning about policing, but I found it was so much more being into the program. I was a really reserved, shy person, did not talk to very many people at all. The program really brought me out of my shell, to say, and became a little bit more communicative. I'm still pretty reserved, but it really did open my eyes up to being able to talk with different people, work with different people, to the point to where I want to come back, keep coming back to the program. So I applied for team leader, didn't get hired. Applied for team leader again, didn't get hired again. Applied for the third time, got in finally. So there's a lot of work to get to that point, but I'm glad I stuck with it. As a team leader, I really found a really big impact in the community work that we did. I was responsible for one of the major fundraisers we did. It was my goal to set a fundraising record that year. We hadn't had a new record in like 3 or 4 years. So that's something I really set out to do. And then it really opened my eyes. It was the coolest night of the year fundraiser. So it was about youth homelessness in the Durham region. So it really brought a lot of perspective in that, and being able to work with youth, understand the different troubles that people like me, like, we're privileged, right? And the way we live our lives. So being able to kind of see the rest of the world kind of was a really big impact for me. So it's funny, each time I was in the program, my perspectives changed. It was about my personal development, then community development. Now it went to like giving back to our students who we were hiring and their development. So it was a supervisor for a year and then now coordinator. So that's kind of where we're at now with my journey in youth and policing.
Awesome. All right. Well, Aaron just shared his backstory. Oscar, tell us a little bit about how you were as a person and then what got you motivated into getting into youth and policing.
Well, one of those things that started me off when I was a little kid is I didn't think of myself as that great of a person, if I'm going to be straight up honest. But as time went on, I kind of realized that there's always a different side to everything. There's always a different perspective, and youth and policing really helped me unveil that and unravel that further. But one of the first things was I just wanted to see what policing was like by getting into it. So I actually got into it because my brother actually did the program first, about 3 years before me. My mom was always great in finding opportunities for us and made us believe there's never short of opportunities if you know where to look. So I got into youth and policing, as Aaron mentioned, same summer as him. And honestly, I had one of the greatest experiences ever. There was just, youth and policing just offers something that you won't find anywhere else as a youth. It gave you a chance to network with all these other students in your community who share different mindsets, and just learn more about something that most people won't ever get those insights into. From there, I just fell in love with the program. I fell in love with the idea of being able to help people and help people develop and grow into leaders. And so I applied right after my program. I actually haven't missed a program since, and I followed, but Aaron and I became supervisors at the same time. I actually did team leader about 4 times. And through those, I think most people don't believe me when I said I've interacted with over 600 youth in the Durham region at this point, but honestly, I couldn't forget a single one of them because each one of them had such a different story that I tried to get to know. It was so intrinsically unique. Aaron loves this motto too. I know he does. So it's just, we can change the world just one life at a time. And if we can even make one person's life better, then we can have what we like to call a ripple effect, which is an event that we actually host every year that I've ran, where it spreads positivity and it keeps flowing out until there's massive impact that ends up happening. I guess most recently, what we've been trying to do is figure out how we can benefit the people in youth and policing more. What programs, what things are they looking for that we can offer that the students would benefit most from? And that's kind of what I'm looking into right now: outreach, community expansion, and new programs or initiatives we can run.
Wow, that's impressive. And I noticed Aaron, he mentioned he got in just to understand about policing, but there was so much more, like community engagement and all that. From your perspective, did you come in, Oscar, thinking, okay, I want to become a police officer, so that's why I'm getting into this program? Or did you come in thinking something, and what did you end up getting? Like, the different perspectives?
It's kind of funny. I came in looking for essentially a summer job and a gateway into policing because it was something I was looking at in my future, and basically to compete with my brother to show I could become a team leader. But I ended up learning how much I actually learned how to be a good person through youth and policing. I learned how much I wanted to help people, and I learned essentially how I could do that just from being able to see all these different backstories and see how you have to approach things holistically. You have to look outside, think outside the box. There's never one size fits all, and it really just sent me towards my path of trying to help more people. So yeah, youth and policing really did show me something different than I thought I was going to get out of it. And I bet most of the students who come through today will tell you the same thing. They came in for a summer job. They came in because they were told, but they leave with a family. That's what we always like to say.
That's awesome. I mean, I know I don't fit that age criteria, but I wish I could try that program now. They should have it for my age criteria, just for the heck of it.
We'll pitch it
soon. Well, I'll hand it over to Mayura. She has a lot of questions about the youth and policing program herself.
Thank you, Anu. So the first question is, could you explain what the requirements are in order to apply for this program?
Yeah, so requirements for joining youth and policing. I primarily handle all of the hiring right now, so I know it like the back of my hand. I know it too well. But to apply for the program, you need to be between the ages of 15 to 18. You need to, for our program, because we're part of the Durham Regional Police Service, you need to reside in the Durham region. You need to be enrolled in secondary school, or if it's the summer, you need to be returning to secondary school or post-secondary school. So you need to be returning to school. Otherwise, as long as you're a Canadian citizen, you're eligible to work in Canada, you're able to apply for our program. The biggest thing I can say when you're trying to get into the program is to read things. People don't read instructions, and then they don't do things properly, and it makes a big headache for me trying to process everything. But assuming you did everything correctly, you filled out your application, it goes through a resume review. We have a whole team of experts from the Durham Regional Police who go through all of the applications, upwards of 300 of them. We whittle that down to about 100 to interview. 100, 120, we'll interview all of those individuals, and then we'll hire our 60 to 70 students based on that. So it's about, applications are open for about a 2 to 3 month process, and then it's about a month process to 2 month process to actually get people hired, employed. So those are kind of like the requirements. You just got to be willing to put in the work. But anyone, we're not looking for the best of the best. We're not looking for the valedictorians, right? Sure, if you are, that's great. But like, if you're someone who needs support in the community, you're someone who really needs to work on your personal development. Like, we really work hard to make sure there's no barriers and anyone has the opportunities for youth and policing.
So there may be students that are interested in youth and policing program, but they don't reside in Durham. Maybe they live in Toronto, Peel, or York, or they might not be between 15 to 18. So what resources or advice can you provide to these students so that they can also experience the career of policing?
So for those of you who may be 15 to 18 still residing in Peel, Toronto, or even beyond in Ontario, there actually are multiple youth and policing programs in every sort of region. We just have to look for them. Currently, some of them have put on hold because of everything transitioning to online, but we do know a few of them, if not more, are attempting to reopen now that they've gotten a chance to adjust and gotten more support behind it. We actually are working with a few of them to try and, I guess, help them get off the ground, since we piloted and got a lot of data on how we can run an online program. For those of you who may be outside that age range, I just say look for more opportunities. A lot of the police services in various regions will host recruiting events, info sessions, or even events just to help get more people into policing. And that's a great chance to network with some officers, get some insights, and even just learn more about policing in general. If we're looking a bit beyond or broader scope, if you actually go on the Ontario Public Service website, sometimes they post careers as well to do something on the lines of policing, like a youth probation assistant or things along those lines. But either way, there's an endless list of opportunities. You just got to keep looking until you find one that you're interested in.
So, Oscar and Mayra, if you don't mind me asking this question, would you be able to share like specific events that online events where people can actually go to? Are you aware of any that we can actually search for and attend to meet these police officers, to see what opportunities are out there?
There are two that currently come to mind. So one of them is actually the annual Durham Regional Police's Women Symposium that we host, just to help, I guess, a community that we haven't gotten to fully tap out to ways to get into policing and how they can kind of succeed in preparing for their police exams or interviews, etc. The other one is actually a forum, or I guess a job collection, that's called Experience Your Life. I know that they end up attending or helping run a kind of like job fair every single year or every so often that does invite the Durham Regional Police and other services.
We run a Ripple Effect Youth Forum and an Impact Youth Forum. So 2 youth forums that we run here in the Durham region. All of the other YIPs in the province come to Durham. We host this big event. Members of the community are invited. So you're getting police service members from across Ontario here in one place. It's great for youth development, motivational speakers, workshops. So that's something that we more have a direct hand in planning. So we have Ripple, which happens in the summer, and then we have Impact, which happens in around February time. And it's just a really great opportunity for members from in the Durham region, across the province. We hosted it virtually last summer, so we had people from across the world tuning in and really hearing like what we have to offer here in Durham, and being able to hear the experiences of different police officers, youth, community advocates, all these things. So those are some great events that Youth and Policing offers.
And do you have specific dates already for the Ripple one? For Youth and Policing in Ripple in the summer, do you have specific dates as to when that program is going to happen?
Currently, we do have a general timeline. It will be either late July or early August. But if you do follow our social media, which I believe we will plug, DRPS_youth YIP, Instagram, it's for most of our media handles. We'll definitely keep everyone updated from there.
Awesome. Awesome. Perfect. Thank you. Mayra, over to you.
Thank you, Anu. So my next question is, how is the Youth in Policing program beneficial for youth? What does this program offer that other programs don't?
So this in itself is a loaded question because everybody takes something different from our program. To touch on more of like the tangible things you'll get out of it, so first of all, it is a paid employment opportunity. So you get paid for being with us, even if it's virtual. You get co-op credits. We have a great partnership with Durham Continuing Education. I think we're the only service in the province that offers co-op credit. So you have to ask your respective service if they do or don't offer that. Our summer program, you can get 2 co-op credits. Our winter program, you can get 1 co-op credit. We pay for you to participate in lots of different certifications. So you'll come out of the program with your first aid, AED, and CPR training, mental health first aid training. We do worker employment safety training. We're really looking for different ways to really boost your resume per se, to say, hey, you really did participate in all these great learning opportunities. We paid for it for you, and you got paid to participate in it. So that also in itself is a great benefit. So those are more of the trainings. There's obviously police service engagement. We have lots of units that will come and do presentations for us, lots of guests, community speakers. So you really get to learn about the police service if you're interested in policing. If you're not interested in policing, you still get to learn about the police service, which is always a great thing for the community to have an understanding of how the police actually works. I will say of like a 60-person group, maybe 20 of them want to go into policing. The other 40 all have different career aspirations. They want to go off into the trades, or want to go off into science or engineering or whatever it might be. Everyone has their own goals. We take everybody in. We don't care if you want to be a police officer or not. So it's still great to get all of those experiences. And I think that pretty much covers like the main gist of what it is you can kind of get out of it. But like I say, it's different for everybody. You get what you put into the program. If you put effort in, you're going to get a lot out of it, right? So that's kind of where youth and policing stands in terms of the benefits.
That's interesting that you say that anyone, I mean, you don't necessarily, and that can be sort of, people could sort of think it's only for policing, but I am glad that you brought that into perspective, that it's not just for policing, it's for more than that. It's to develop your leadership skills, your community engagement skills, and so much more, right? It's interesting you talk about the trades, because next week we are interviewing people who work on the trades part of things. So, yeah.
Yeah, honestly, I was quite surprised when you mentioned that only 20 students roughly who go into the program actually go into policing. And I know, I just think it's great that this program is open to so many people beyond students that are just interested in policing, right? Because it's not just policing. From what I'm understanding, it's like you also gain leadership skills and confidence. I know you mentioned in terms of training with YIP, students can get first aid and CPR, but I'm just curious, could you guys walk me through like a typical day as a student? What type of training do they receive in the YIP?
Everybody asks me this question. Happens in interviews all the time. Like when we interview students, they're like, so what does a typical youth and policing day look like? Honestly, I can't tell you what a typical youth and policing day looks like. We work so hard to make sure every day is different. We want to make sure that you get an impact out of every day, that you're not doing the same thing over and over and over and over again, right? It gets redundant, you lose interest, you don't want to participate anymore. We need to keep it interesting, right? We're working with students 15 to 18. They need something to keep them engaged, right? And we love keeping them engaged as well. So it could be one day you come into work, you will start the day with a unit presentation. They'll come talk about their unit, answer questions. Let's say we have like the homicide unit come in. All of our students get an oath of secrecy. So the homicide unit, like they have free reign to share whatever they want, versus like if you like they're to do like a public presentation, obviously there's a lot of things they can't share, right? Students get engaged, cool. We'll go to a break, come back, maybe do some team time, work on some team projects that they're working on. Like we say, all of these major events that happen, they aren't just like 1 or 2 person things. Like a lot of time and effort from our student body goes into making these events happen. So might do some of that, lunch, come back, and then maybe we'll do a certification with like Dr. Rob Elkington, who does a leadership certification with us. Maybe he'll spend the afternoon with us talking about leadership, working through modules, whatever it might be. And then there's one day, right? And it's really fluctuates on what it is we do regularly, but I think that's also one of the best parts of the job. Most jobs you go into, you're doing the same thing like all the time, every day, right? Even for us as coordinators, like the more you get up into youth and policing, a little bit becomes a little bit more like repetitive, but then like you have people with creative minds like Oscar Lee here, who is like, hey, I want to make an entire mentorship program and implement it for this next group. And they're like, okay, great, let's run with that idea, let's make it happen. You get fresh ideas in, it really sparks motivation within the team. So it's really just all about that active engagement.
Okay, so I guess the program's goals try to refrain from focusing on the typical 9 to 5 job where you do the same thing every day. Okay, so I know you mentioned that you guys have in guest speakers and they come and do presentations, but in terms of like hands-on activities and work, what do students do?
In terms of hands-on thing, we have so many concurrent initiatives, programs, projects running during the program that there's always something for a student who's really interested to kind of latch their hand onto. For one, we did, as Aaron mentioned, raise over $20,000 for Coldest Night this year. So fundraising is a big aspect of youth and policing. We try to do our best we can for the community, and we really showed that this year, breaking a record by what, $4,000. We even implemented a program called Holiday Heroes, where we essentially reached out to a bunch of veterans and individuals living in retirement homes to make sure that they were feeling welcomed and feeling like they were remembered during the holiday season. So just anything those students really wanted to be able to do, they can kind of start. They can even implement it. We'll take their ideas and we'll help them build it. So students, as much as they want to get their hands on, they can.
Okay, I get it. So it's like a lot of leadership combined with community service, I guess. Okay, that's great. I guess we can move on to the next section, which is focused on careers in the police service. So I'm to understand that beyond like a police officer, there are so many more opportunities in the police service industry. So if you guys could just go over the different career options and also touch on what are the skills needed for these jobs?
So there's two kind of paths you can go down if you want to go into policing. You go as a sworn police officer, or you can go as a civilian. So I'll start with the sworn, and then I'll go to civilian. So a sworn is a police officer. They're your uniformed officers. They're your detectives. So you start as a road officer. After you get hired and all these things, you do your training, road officer. Once you become a first class constable, you can go into so many different opportunities in the service, whether it's stay in our patrol, whether it's go into investigations, and investigations can get broken down into homicide, guns and gangs, human trafficking, victim services, cyber crimes, fraud. Like there's endless. If you can think of something that's illegal, there's probably a unit that focuses specifically on that one thing. So that's kind of sworn. And then civilian side, you look at people like Oscar and I, right? We're civilian students with the Durham Regional Police Service. Our job is only youth and policing. That is what we focus on. We are a subset of the equity and inclusion and the recruiting. We're kind of like a middle ground placement. But then you have like your civilian opportunities such as recruiting. So people who are interested in human resources and recruiting and things like that. That's half officers, half civilians who run the recruiting unit. You've got things like records. You've got things like, my brain's going at corporate communications, for example. So if you're interested in corporate communications or media, things like that, we hire people specifically for that role in the Durham Regional Police Service. You don't have to be a police officer, as long as you have each career is different. You'll need, let's say it's corporate communications. You'll maybe need it something to do with business or something to do with communications or something like that in your education to go into that, right? Or I'm trying to think here. I've got my my cheat sheet over here of all the different things we can do. Training is another thing. A lot of time goes into education in the police service. So people who actually, you need people to educate, right? So essentially like your teachers of the police service, a bit more specific things. Facilities and fleet management. If you're interested in cars and you want to come work for the Durham Regional Police Service and their fleet management, right? We have, Durham Regional Police has like 800 police cars or something like that. Maybe not 800. That might seem a bit high. But maybe like 600, 400, something like that. hundreds of vehicles that need to be serviced, managed, maintained. We need mechanics who do those things, or manage our buildings and do facilities and electricity work. So it's almost like a whole little like town inside of a police service of all these different roles that you can participate in. Each little niche position has their own like educational requirements, background experience, things like that. Obviously, if you want to go into fleet management, you need some background in mechanics and cars and things like that. So it's different for everybody. Finance is another big one. Payroll, just managing money, accounting, like that is a whole other realm of the Durham Regional Police Service that we do ourselves, right? So that's kind of like the gist of it. Everything, a lot of the things you'll see, you need to keep in mind, policing is a very competitive, like industry to say, or service. So even though like the base requirements may be like a high school diploma, for example, to become a police officer, you're very like it's extremely unlikely to get hired with just a high school diploma, right? Extremely, like when we work with recruiting, as I say, like they'll say like maybe once every like 6 years they'll hire someone with a high school diploma, and that's because maybe they spent 5 or 10 years in the military, right? So they've got something else to make up for that educational gap that might be there. So any sort of continuing education you can do will always be a benefit. And do something that you're interested in is another thing, right? This is more from like a personal standpoint. Police Foundations, for example, is a course, is great. You learn a lot about policing. You're going to learn all of those things in police college. So why not take a degree in something else that you're really interested in, and then bring that unique background to the police service? That'll make you a lot more more competitive applicant, right? If you have a background in like sustainability studies, for example, I'm going to take a minor in sustainability studies. So that's something that, is unique, it's different, and it kind of gives you that competitive edge. So there's lots of different things that go into what you can do in a police service and the different backgrounds and requirements that are necessary.
Wow. Honestly, when I was looking into like all the jobs in the police service myself, I was shook by how many different jobs and like how varied they are. And I think part of the reason for that is because society and just school doesn't put much of an emphasis on careers other than STEM. And because of that, I feel like a lot of students don't get much exposure to industries like the police service. So my question is, aside from youth and policing, which sounds like a great program, what other resources and opportunities are open to high school students who may be, I don't know, curious in joining the police services or honestly just want to learn more?
For a lot of high schoolers these days, it's even making opportunities for themselves. When I say that, I mean sometimes it's just about taking a leap of faith, reaching out to someone. We have this amazing platform called LinkedIn nowadays, where people put their job fields, and a lot of people are more willing to help. I guess youth grow as you may think. Sometimes you just need to reach out to enough people until one responds.
If you're interested in engineering, for example, go find someone who's in engineering and ask them questions, right? What is this like? What do you do? How did you get involved? Who did you connect to? Really start asking people questions who have that experience while you're young, so you can make those decisions going forward. Another opportunity that the DRPS just started, that's why I almost forgot about it, but it just started like this month. We're putting together a youth advisory committee, which is separate from youth and policing, but a youth advisory committee. We're taking on 11 youth volunteers. So I believe the age range is 15 to 29, where you get to literally be involved in like part of the decision-making process for the Durham Regional Police Service. You get to share your voice on how you think different things within the service are, give a youth perspective, being able to share your experiences. So this is something that our equity inclusion unit just put together. So you got to really just look out for those opportunities when they're available, and really seize, ask questions, send us an email, right? We get so many emails a day just asking, hey, what's youth and policing? Like most of the time we'll say, hey, we'll answer your question, then directly to our website, because sometimes we get a lot of emails, but you really just got to look for those opportunities.
Mm-hmm. So, Oscar, you mentioned creating opportunities for yourself, right? Along with networking, of course, with other professionals in the industry, what can high school students do now, like in terms of creating opportunities for themselves?
Well, I'll give you an answer that a lot of entrepreneurs will tell you the same way. It's finding a problem and just creating a solution for it. So take the passions that you have, take these things that you're interested in, and start something centered around it. We've had some youth and policing students go on and start, I believe it's called Youth for Change, and they create their own initiatives just to make those small impacts. We had some youth and policing students raise a couple of grand for the victims in Beirut during the summer. So they saw an issue and they worked together to put together something for it, completely separate from YIP. And it's just looking at those different opportunities, looking at those different things that the community could use, and putting your foot forward, especially with a lot of things shut down. Why not be the person to say, hey, I'm going to be the one to start this? Looking at things and just start it. If you don't know how, start and learn on the way. Reach out and ask someone. Hell, reach out to Aaron and I. We'll help you too.
Your email box is going to be flooded after this.
It's okay. Aaron will go through them.
Yeah, I think even just during quarantine, there's been so many youth organizations that have just popped up. And it doesn't even matter the field. Like I've seen medical youth organizations, people in the trades, people interested in policing. But yeah, I guess it's just a great way to take some initiative and, like you mentioned, really creating opportunities for yourself. So yeah, that's it for me. Over to you, Anu.
So I'd just like to ask, maybe this is a personal question. You guys both are going through university. Do you have any plans as to what you want to do after university?
Policing is something I'm definitely looking into. I might actually continue with my education. I guess I've yet to decide with everything still up in the air right now. So I guess I have to see.
Awesome. And Aaron?
It's funny you asked this. All of my life up until maybe like 2 months ago, like all I wanted to do was go into policing. Like that was just what I wanted to do. That's what I set my goals towards. In the last like month or so, I don't know what happened. I don't know, maybe if it's being in the coordinator position. It's not that I've kind of been turned away from policing, but it's more of like my eyes have been open to other opportunities as well. So policing is still pretty much there at the forefront, but I've also been considering other things more in like strategic planning or like information analysis, whether it be like through Public Safety Canada or maybe some civilian positions with the police service. So I've been kind of in the last little bit just kind of going over like, hey, these are other options. As I mentioned earlier, I'm going to be taking a sustainability studies minor just based on like the environment, stuff like that. One of my professors really convinced our whole lecture class, like, hey, everyone take this minor. So something like that might be a little bit interesting as well. I'm not too big into the sciences. I love math, but like I wouldn't study math because I don't want to ruin it for me. So just keeping my options open, just kind of opening my eyes like, hey, there's other things that I can do as well, and just kind of doing a little bit more investigating and seeing what's out there,
And another question is, how do you keep all these from 15 to 18-year-olds? You're interviewing them, you've got them in, you're running all these programs. How do you keep them motivated? Because one of the things that's very hard to do, I find, whether you're an adult or whether you're in high school or whatever, is to be consistent and is to keep going at it, right? With whether it's a program that you roll out. So what are the ways that you have these people, these youth consistently deliver all these great programs that you talk about?
I can say two things, is variety and energy are two really big things as well. We'll hire like our 60 to 70 students. We also hire a leadership team as well. So those are people who've been in the program before. We'll hire 6 team leaders, 3 supervisors. They work directly under Oscar and I. They do more of like the actual program stuff. And we hire people who have lots of energy, highly motivated, really, you got to represent what it is you want the students to do, right? So having those highly motivated individuals in leadership positions really helps. And then, like we say, like no youth and policing day is the same as another, right? Having variety, keeping it different, also helps build engagement and keep people involved on a regular basis.
So how do you judge that high energy when you're interviewing someone? Because I can't picture someone going, yeah, I want to be part of youth and policing. That might sound kind of over zealous. So how do you judge a person as to, oh yeah, they are high energy people. They will do great for our program. Like, what are those characteristics that you're looking for?
Well, first I want to say for anyone who may be questioning youth and policing, you should have seen Aaron's interview. But I guess in general, as we mentioned before, we do hire a very diverse range of people, and we just want to see that you genuinely want to be there, you genuinely want to learn, and that's pretty much one of the only requirements we have. From there, it doesn't matter whether you believe yourself to be an introvert, extrovert, or what your interests are. Youth and policing, we believe, usually has a spot for you. And so we just want you to be able to show that. We just want you to be able to show who you are as a person. And our officers have met many people. Our interviewers have all interviewed many people, and they'll be able to pick up on that too.
Wow. And Aaron, did you want to add, or because Oscar always asks Aaron? So.
Yeah. So for the hiring process, for our students, we're not looking so much for like the most energetic things like that. Like Oscar said, if you want to work on yourself, that's all we need. That's all the motivation we need to get you to where you want to be. For our leadership team, we're a little bit more picky, but a lot of it comes down to like our student interviews are maybe about 10 to 15 minutes long. Just get to know them, make sure they got an understanding of the program. Our team leader interviews are about half an hour long, so double in length. We ask lots of questions, get their mind going. We ask things to think of creative situations, right? And we put them in situations like, how do you respond to this? How do you respond to that? And really get them like out of their comfort zone and see really how they perform in those situations. If you don't get something exactly what we're looking for, that's okay. But if you really do take to heart, okay, I have a problem, I need to solve it, or whatever it might be, like that energy comes out naturally. And we can pick up on that and we say, okay, you know what, this person, we think they'd be a really good fit based on their past performance in youth and policing. And then we don't hire our leadership team as individuals. When we hire a leadership team, how we've done it in the past is we'll write everyone's names on the whiteboard. And because I love whiteboards, I work with whiteboards all the time. I've got one on my desk. And then obviously based on like our standard criteria and things like that we have, because it needs to be fair and equitable, all those things. But we're like, okay, will this team work well together, right? Because if this team can't work well together over an 8-week or 14-week period, this program isn't going to work. So we really focus on, at least for a leadership team, the team dynamics and how they work together. And that's where energy comes from as well. If they can work really well together, you're going to have a great leadership team. You're going to have a great program.
Wow. So is there an expectation that for the interview, they come in with presentations or anything? Like, do they get any pre-questions ahead of time, or is it just come in, you apply, just come in, and we'll just ask you a couple of questions?
So the interview itself has no precursor. We don't like giving away all of our interview questions per se. But for students, at least, like we say, as long as you know a little bit about the program, know about yourself, like why are you here? What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? Things like that. Like if you can have a basic understanding of all those things, you'll be fine in your interview. That's all it really is. It's just for us to be able to put a name and your words and language to an application, right? Because we just have you on paper so far. We want to be able to see and talk to you. For our team leaders, our leadership team interviews, we really want to bring out certain situations in them to where they can think on the fly, right? If something happens in youth and policing where something needs addressed, we're not giving you a precursor before a situation happens. You need to be able to think on your feet, use your experience, and make a decision, right? So we really do look for that right at the start. Do you have these problem-solving abilities to where you can do your job effectively, right? Something I've said in the past that Oscar knows, I don't like holding people's hands on the leadership team. We really want to set you up for success at the start. Make sure you have all the tools, all the resources, and then after that, our job is to mentor you as leaders more, not to hold your hand through these small situations. We hope that you can handle those on your own, obviously with some guidance, but having that free thinking, independent thinking, and be able to work as the team together is what we look for.
And your leadership team, is it also 15 to 18?
No, as long as you are in, if you're in school, secondary or post-secondary, you're fine to be as a member of a leadership team. The only requirement is you have to have graduated as a student before. If you've not been part of our program, you're not eligible to be in our leadership team.
Wow, this is a pretty good program. I really hope after this, and I'm sure there's a lot of people already applying. And you mentioned that there are similar programs in Toronto and the York region as well, right? Yeah.
I can give like exact, because I'm just right now I'm doing a lot of like research on other youth and policing programs. So as of right now, 5 services in Ontario are running a program. 3 of them have postponed them for 2020 and are restarting right now. And then 6 of them have postponed them until after COVID. And then there's a few more. I think I have about 12 of them who've not quite got back to me yet. But that's easily a good like 20-30 services in Ontario who runs this program. So anywhere you go, there's opportunities.
So did you just Google youth and policing, or you probably have an internal list, but for everyone else, they just Google youth and policing Ontario and that's how they usually list it?
Yeah, so whatever municipality you live in, whatever your local police service is, look up your local police service and then just add youth and policing at the end. If you can't find anything, like we say, don't be afraid to ask questions. Go onto their website, find the contact information, give them a call, right? Like, hey, do you offer this program? Maybe they do, they just don't promote it as much because they only hire a few students, right?
Right.
Or something like that. So really just like, there's nothing wrong with giving someone a phone call, right? I know a lot of youth are scared to do that, or they'll have their parents do that for them. I love when we get phone calls from youth directly asking their questions, right? So just reach out, do that research for yourself. If you're not sure, just go look for it, right?
Yeah. So there you go. If you want if you want an opportunity in youth and policing, just go out there, pick up the phone, or Google research, pick up the phone. And if anything else, just contact Oscar and Aaron on the Instagram. What's your Instagram again?
It's DRPS_YIP. That's YIP. So DRPS_YIP.
And is there any other channel that people can contact in regards to Durham Region?
Yeah, of course. So you can feel free to reach out to us by email as well. It's just one word, youth and policing at drps.ca, as well as all our social media handles such as Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram all use DRPS YIP, that line. And we're looking into potentially opening up a LinkedIn as well sometime soon.
Awesome. Yes, LinkedIn is a great platform. I use it all the time. Awesome.
I was going to say best bet for us is if you ever forget any of that stuff, just look up Durham Regional Police Service YIP. Go to our webpage that's there. Everything there is to know about the programs there. The entire hiring process is outlined there. At the bottom has all of our contact information, including email, phone number, social media, all those things. So it's all in there for you. Just look up DRPS or Durham Regional Police Service YIP webpage, scroll down, everything's there for you to access. So that's an also easy way to see all of it in one place.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much again for your time, Aaron and Oscar. We really appreciate it. And I'm sure after this video, a lot of people are going to know about the youth in policing. I've certainly learned a lot, and I'm sure Thanuja and Myra here have learned a lot about this program. Totally new to us, and we're grateful for your time. Thank you.
Thank you for having us as well. We really appreciate this opportunity, and we'd be happy to join you anytime else in the future.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.